Hey there everyone, Luke here, and I apologise for this being a day late once again. Last night or yesterday, I had a panic attack over something personal, but fortunately that got sorted, and thankfully I have family here that can support me in the same way that we have a family in Miss Yozakura family that can support each other. So yeah, that all turned out good, nothing to worry about, and now now I've gotten that out of the way, we can finally talk about this chapter because it focuses on brothers, which is kind of coincidence because me and my brother, we had quite the moment yesterday with him helping me get sorted with what was troubling me. So yeah, let's just dive right into the chapter. Alright, so this will be chapter 151, titled Shinzo's Memories. So obviously we're continuing on with the battle between Kengo, Tayo and Shinzo. So yeah, without further ado, we pick up from the end of the last chapter where we have Kengo using his assimilation blooming to get in Shinzo's mind, and yeah, pretty much the Power Ranger style from the Ravkonian comparisons are just spouting out in this chapter. So we pick it up with Kengo saying like, okay, now I can finally see what's going on in Shinzo's mind, and we see just flashbacks to various points, various memories that Shinzo has had over the years, including actually getting Ai in there, where from the looks of things it seems like she was going around like, hey look, I got my own spy license, Shinzo, isn't that really good? And he was just like, yes, it was very good, very good. Now all you need to do is get a real license and you can become a real spy like the rest of us. So we also have moments with Kengo as well, which makes sense. So we have them going on and saying, lots of memories fill people's heads, glittering like gems. It's like your own private room that only you can get in. That only you can get into. Oh no, wait, no, this isn't Shinzo doing that. This isn't Shinzo doing that. I am stupid. Like, this is not Shinzo's memories. These are Kengo's memories, kind of going into Shinzo. So yeah, that whole thing with I and getting the license, that was probably Kengo mentioning that. Yeah, because he has it shows like, oh, the memory shows with the armband that Kengo wears. So yeah, it was Kengo that she was speaking to. So yeah, we also have him interacting with Shion. Makes sense because they have like such a bond, being more of like the tech wizards of the Yozakura family, not really being the strongest ones. So yeah, some more notable memories here are obviously Kengo spending time with his mentor and mother. We have him playfully messing about with Koricho, but also as well, Kengo just using a mallet on Shinzo. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna run away now, and Shinzo, I can imagine, just like, what the hell was that for? What the hell was that for? But the most interesting one that I find out of all of them is the one where it shows him and Momo going on a fishing trip, which does tie into something that actually happens later on in the chapter, which we're going to discuss when we get to it. But yeah, we see Kengo going through his memories and finally entering Shinzo's memories, which are nothing more than a dark black room with only a few little memories. So obviously this is Momo's influence. Like, he's using like the Sakura blossom blooming to disguise the fact of like, oh, there are only so many memories that you have, Shinzo. Forget about those other memories that you have. But of course, this being Kengo, he can easily gain access into their heads to find out exactly what their memories are. And yeah, as Kengo is obviously observing, like, why is this dark? What is going on here? We have Shinzo just being like, Kengo, just please leave me alone. I don't want to deal with this. So kind of going through like a phase of like, sort of like bouncing, sort of like the two halves of his mind fighting against each other. The mind is just like, no, I don't want anything to do with you guys anymore. But at the same time, like, they're family, and I want to deal with them. As we get a memory of them all on Hawaii, what looks like a Hawaiian beach. So we have Chibi Nanano, and again, I love the fact of like they just have the numbers on to indicate which sibling they are. So like we have Mutsumi, who's like the sixth one, so she has a number 6 on, and then we have Mini Nanano, who's just like in this baby onesie with just a 7 on. As we see Koricho in a Hawaiian shirt, just saying, "Yay, go Mutsumi, bash that watermelon in." And Shinzo's just like, oh, just a little bit more and we can all go back and those happy days can come again, as Kengo comes to the realization of like Momo's only left the memories in that he wants to and blots out the rest. So he's just like, yeah, all those memories you have, Shinzo, yeah, just forget about them, forget about all of them. It's all happy-go-lucky, happiness and everything, and you've got nothing else to fear, which in my personal experience is actually bad at times for that to be the actual mentality. And I did discuss this with Vex on Control Chaos, and we'll get into the point in the chapter of what everyone universally agrees is probably the best line in the chapter. But yeah, Kengo was just wondering, like, how does this work? How does Momo come into his memories, able to pick and choose what it is, and just blots out the rest? So that's what's going through Kengo's mind, even though he's technically in somebody else's mind at the moment. Wrap your brain around all that. But of course, there is one memory that Shinzo cannot get rid of, and it's the big giant memory behind the door. Like it's like the size of, okay, you see the walls here, you see the walls in my room. Okay, imagine the walls in my room, but like 10 feet tall. That's basically the size of this wall that we're seeing right now in the chapter, where we see this one memory of the day when Shinzo first activated blooming, like when his blooming first came into fruition. So I guess so it says so from what I can understand, it's that the blooming seems to come out on like really emotional, intense moments. Wow. And I really thought we couldn't get more Power Rangers down for a Ravkonian comparison here, because in that the Ravkonians got their antennae at times through very emotional moments, as we saw with one particular Ravkonian in that series. And if you haven't watched Power Rangers Alpha, just go and check out our videos on it. We had a lot of fun with that. And oh, by the way, still working on the Power Rangers video, still working on the Power Rangers binge. So looking forward to doing some more this week, and hopefully getting through season 1. Although we still got a way to go. But getting off topic here, but yeah, we have Shinzo going, I don't remember the day I triggered my blooming for the first time, but for some reason screams linger in my ears and I can still smell blood. So it's like, okay, you can't quite remember the memory, but at the same time it's something that he just can't get rid of for some reason, and it's just driving him insane. And of course, another memory that Shinzo can't get rid of at this moment is Momo himself. So as we get one of his memories where he's going, it's scary not having memories. I know that feeling all too well. Yep, I know nothing of my past, where I was born, where I was raised. I don't remember any of it. At first, it just mystified me, but still decided to take in the giant question mark that I am. But now I understand why she did it. Even if you don't know who you are, even if you can't love someone, I do know you and I love you. So trying to show Momo in like a sympathetic light here, yeah, I don't know how to feel about this because of just how much of a scumbag he has been and just how psychotic he is to get this mentality of like, let's go back to the way it was when we all had happier times, when we weren't this like spy family that just went around everywhere or had these crazy superpowers. Let's just go back to how it was in my mind, how living happily ever after or Mountain of Corpses. But what's interesting here is the fact that there is something that even Momo doesn't know about himself, which got me thinking throughout this week, and it was just like questioning like, wait, if Tsubumi is the first head of the Yozakura, and Momo is kind of like a sort of like branch of her, pun definitely intended, then what came before Tsubumi? that's something I would definitely like to know. And also now, this just adds more layers to Momo, even though trying to make it sympathetic because someone don't agree with, just adding layers to him allows it like, okay, something interesting is happening with Momo, getting some lore dump here, and lore dump, and maybe adding more mystery of like, okay, who is Momo really? Where did he actually come from? And we might actually get answers to that when he's actually captured, and if he'll become an ally, which don't do that. Do not make him an ally. Like that's the last thing we need. But maybe more sort of like, okay, he's kind of more grey area of like, okay, I'm gonna help you because it benefits me, but at the same time, I still want all of you all to myself. So whether or not this is gonna tie into the Zodiac theory of with that big massive silhouette that we saw like months and months ago, like if that's going to be tying into Zodiacs of like where the Yozakuras truly originally came from, because that's the thing we need to know about. I mean, yeah, Tsubumi is the origin of the current Yozakura family as we know it today, but what came before her? Like, because that all started in the 1900s, so it only started like 120 years ago. If the Yozakura is taking place in the current decade, so like the 2020s. So yeah, that all came about 120 years ago. But what came before that? What came like 150 years ago, 180 years ago? That is something that I would want to know and find out of like, how on earth did this family truly come to be the way it was? Shinzo goes on to say that he should have caught on then, that if he just picked up on the signs, if he had just listened to Dad, if only he could have done something like that in the past, then maybe none of this might have happened. Maybe those horrible things never would have happened to Rei and Mutsumi, but he didn't, and he was too scared of himself to even try, because Shinzo, despite the fact of being one of the strongest of the Yozakuras in terms of physicality, isn't quite the strongest in terms of mentality, because he's one of the more emotional ones, and he's actually scared of his abilities. Like, even though he's very proficient in them, he's actually scared of his blooming destroyer, because I feel like on the inside he's the big buff guy, but he's the buff guy with the half gold, and he wouldn't really want to hurt anyone. But at the same time, his blooming is kind of the contrast to that of like, no, it's a blooming decide to cause destruction, but he doesn't want to actually cause that. It's sort of like fighting for two halves of himself to be in control half the time. But Kengo is just like, shut up, bro. We're still underwater, you know, and I don't want to take too long. So very quite a little bit of comedic timing there of just like, oh, shut up, because of the fact that we're still underwater, so I want to get this done quickly, so best be prepared for me to speed through all of this. As Shinzo's just like, oh, you're always like this, level-headed and practical. You don't get what it's like for someone clumsy like me. And again, yeah, very true of Shinzo, of the fact that he's quite clumsy. As now, if in many ways, he's kind of like me if I he's kind of like me if I was in that position, someone who's gentle, but at the same time has difficulty knowing their own strength at times, in the same way that Shinzo does, and can be a bit clumsy in this way. I relate to so many characters here, and also the fact that Kengo is just like, okay, shut up, concentrate, and pretty much level-headed and practical. Yeah, that describes my brother to a T, even though he's older, and it's kind of like a flip of the reverse here with Shinzo and Kengo. Kengo goes on to say, I get you better than you think. Both your clumsy points and your super cool ones too. Even if you don't remember, I do, as we get like the big reveal of like what the flashback actually is, and it shows like Kengo being seriously injured whilst Shinzo had his blooming activated. So I can't so it seems like, from what I'm seeing, when you first so it seems like from what's implied here is that even though in the flashback Shinzo did use his blooming to save Kengo, he might have actually injured him in the process as well. Like, even though Kengo was safe, he might have accidentally hurt him, despite the fact that he probably didn't want that to actually happen. So yeah, we have him going, what triggered your furious blooming was me. I was alone on a mission and on the verge of death. You rushed in as backup, and that's when you awakened. You did it to save me. So yeah, Shinzo probably went like super berserk, like not. I feel like it would have been kind of like to compare like Digimon Frontier, where they did digested, because the Digimon Frontier they became the Digimon, and in their like I guess you would say champion form, they couldn't really control it at times, so they kind of went on a berserker rampage, and I feel like that's what happened with Shinzo here. He awakened his blooming, but his blooming kind of took over his mind, and he might have ended up hurting Kengo, even though he technically saved him at the same time as well. But yeah, quite emotional moment here where Kengo was like, oh, where Shinzo was like, oh, you're okay, Kengo, I'm so glad. As we get Kengo going, Shinzo, I figured you wouldn't want to remember, so I never brought it up, but I don't ever want to forget what happened. That's a very precious memory for me. Forgetting stuff you hate, remembering all the things, remembering all what you like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, you see, this is the part that I will, even though it's a great line, I kind of disagree on it. Partially, like, I can understand where they're coming from, and for people with that mentality, that's great. Live with that. But for me personally, I'll get into it. In a couple of minutes. Apologies for that. I needed to log back in on my phone to Discord. But yeah, back on Discord. So yeah. Vex called this whole thing about the mentality of like forgetting stuff you hate, remembering only what you like. There's nothing wrong with that. They called it panel of the week, but I was like, yeah, but that can also be dangerous for someone's mindset as well. I mean, look at Momo just trying to forget all the bad things. They're just thinking positively and happy. That can really screw up with someone's mind, and Vex's counter argument with me was that it's a deception of trauma. Everyone goes through their own coping mechanisms, but managing it in a healthy way is the key. And yeah, that I can understand that. I can definitely totally understand that. But what I meant was just like is that, well, yes, it's very strong and powerful to only remember what you like. You should also be willing to hold on to the bad things. Like, even though you would totally want to forget them and not even think about them, the fact that those memories still exist and you went through them, and you actually came out of them and learned and grown from them, showcase like yes they are important. Because to quote the Doctor in Doctor Who, life is a parade of good and bad things. The bad things don't normally necessarily soften the good things, but vice versa. The good things don't. The bad things don't spoil the good things or make them unimportant. And you always need those. In my opinion, you need to go through those experiences, even though they may be bad and they may be troubling and traumatic. You need to go. I feel like personally, for me, if you go through them and accept what you that's more of the word I'm looking for. Accept what happened to you. Don't try to push it away. Don't try to feel like, oh, what if this could happen? If I could turn back the clocks, change everything, maybe it would have come out better. Because yeah, obviously it would do, but at the same time, don't let it be like, don't let you be in denial of like, no, this didn't happen. Accept it. Grow past it, learn from it, and keep it as a reminder of never to go through those memories again. That's what I was getting. That's what I was getting by, because it helps with the balance and keeping it at bay of like, yes, I did go through that experience, but at the same time, I'm glad I went through it because it made me stronger and more efficient. Perfect example for this, going in my own personal memory, is I mentioned this before when I was doing the retrospective of The Promised Neverland, but two friends that I thought were my friends, turns out they weren't such bad friends. Turns out they weren't such good friends, to the point that they nearly made me homeless. And it got to the point where I was going through a depressive state to the point of suicide. Like 100% serious here about that. And even though I like to keep it in the back of my mind, at the same time, sometimes it needs to be brought into the forefront for me to remind myself of like, okay, yes, I went through that, but at the same time, I'm glad I went through that because it showed me not only who my real friends were, but also who was really in my corner, my family, which perfectly encompasses this chapter. My family just came through for me at my darkest hour and got me out of that situation, and I am thankful forever for that. So, but also the fact that I did go through that experience and I did learn from it and I came out stronger, and I don't let anything like that happen to me ever again. That's kind of what I was going for there. But at the same time, I understand why people would want to not remember such traumatic experiences for their own personal gains and not taking anything away from that. But that's just the way I saw in that chapter of the fact that, yeah, even though it is good to keep remembering the good things, and there's nothing wrong with that. The fact sometimes you do need to remember the bad things to understand, okay, where did we go wrong here? How can we learn from them? Kengo goes on as we just see him just use it, just touching the black screens and just eviscerating the blackness in Shinzo's mind at this moment, as he says how strong you are, how fun you are, how kind you are. As Shinzo understands what's going on here, these are Kengo's memories flooding into him. Again, like I said, very reminiscent of what happens with the Ravkonians, how when one Ravkonian touches another or touches anyone, they're able to see the memories of each other. So yeah, that's perfectly what's going on here. Perfect analysis here. As they go on to say, the inside of your mind isn't this dark, Shinzo. You've got a lot of incredible memories stored in here. So it's basically saying like, look, yes. Sometimes you can't undo memories, and sometimes the bad memories don't go away. But at the same time, you need a balance. You need a balance here. Again, that's probably what Kengo saw. It's just like Shinzo's just constantly thinking about the bad things here, the bad things that happen, the bad thing that happened when he activated his blooming. Which again, very very likely he hurt Kengo when he first activated this blooming, and he's like, no, that didn't happen. I want to forget that. But Kengo's just like, no, because I will remember that, because that was important. That was an important memory to remember for both of us, and you should be remembering, and you should embrace the fact that yes, went through that, but you came out as a stronger person. And I know the real you, Shinzo. You're kind, you're caring, you're considerate. The inside of your mind isn't this dark, Shinzo. You've got a lot of incredible memories stored in here. If you can't remember them yourself, then I'll just have to basically for a lack of a better word, basically do what happened at the end of Dino Fury Season 2, Episode 21, where we had one Ravkonian touching another, and just like the whole anger, the whole pain, the whole darkness just eviscerated from them. That's basically what happens here, as we get one of the all-time great Mission Yozakura panels, which is a double spread where we see Kengo's light influence just eviscerating the darkness that's in Shinzo's mind. And we cut to the outside where we see Tayo making an assumption like, oh, he started to turn back, and we have the memories of just like we have the thoughts of Kenko of just like, if I could just restore the memories that were blotted out, I'm sure they'll break the brainwashing. You can do it, Shinzo. And that's where the chapter ends. So really good character development chapter for both Kengo and Shinzo. I'm really showcasing the bond that they have, which is something I feel like we're gonna ultimately get as well with Nanano, Koichiro, and Futaba when that fight kicks off. But at the same time, I still feel like this is going a little bit too easy. And Momo is still there, so Momo might have one more trick up his sleeve. But at the same time, if it's here that Shinzo comes back, but what if they swap out? What if we get Shinzo back, but Kengo is the one that gets corrupted? Oh my, that would be something interesting to explore. Like, maybe Momo's going to get two of them at a time, and the others have to try and come and save them in the same way they tried to come and save them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This was just a really fun chapter, Really interesting to find out how opposite Kengo and Shinzo feel about a tragic affair. How Kengo has basically accepted it as a necessary thing that they went through, but Shinzo was very much in denial of it. Now, again, where we go from here is anyone's guess. Kengo gets captured, Shinzo still gets under control with Momo, while Kengo gets captured as well. We cut over to what's going on with Futaba and Karicho and Nano, since we haven't been with them for the last few chapters. And also as well find out exactly what Momo is truly, where he truly came from, and what some of his true origins actually are, and whether we're actually going to get the Zodiac group after him. That's a whole different can of worms for later. But for now, like I said, really good chapter. Enjoy it. Can't wait for next week. And also this week, like I said, going to be doing some more Power Rangers, and also doing a modcast where if we're talking about tragedy in this chapter, better get your tissues ready for that one. Hint, hint. Whether or not that comes this week or next week or whatever. But yeah, I feel like that is going to be the next modcast for Control Chaos. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys.